What's up, guys? It's Kictor, popping in 4 minutes early because Kenzie sent a donation. Thank you so much, Kenzie. Oh my god. Kenzie says, hi, ready for some 6 balls of Scum villain fun. I purchased my ticket to go see my girlfriend next month. Oh my god, congrats! And it's so crazy how soon it will be. Currently anxiety crocheting for the Monday scaries. Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully the Scum can take your mind off of the scaries. And that's so exciting that you're getting to see Briarbox. Oh my god, I'm so happy for you guys. For anyone who doesn't know, Kenzie and Briarbox met like on my stream, which is so cute. I feel wholly responsible for their beautiful relationship. Guy the Pirate Witch, 3 months of greatness and here for the Scum. Thank you so much for being a member, Guy. I've really enjoyed having you in the chat. And yes, everybody, it is finally happening. It has been a shameful 4 years of being in like the Danmei fandom and not reading Scum Villain. And I thought, you know, what's one way to be fully accountable to read this book? And that is to read it with all of you. And, you know, a surprising amount, actually, quite a few people in the chat have not read it. 18% had read some of it, 5% had only seen the Donghua, but 15% haven't read or watched, that's a pretty high percentage of people that have not read all of the books. So, if you are one of my amazing kickflips, I did read the first 20 pages, which really, there are a lot of pictures. It really is not a full 20 pages on my member stream, but I'm going to just start from the beginning so that we have a full, clean slate. Also, during my member stream, I was reading very slowly and kind of making jokes every 2 seconds. So I will get through the first 20 pages a little bit quicker this time, I think. But I am very excited to like react to this and ask questions, and it's not just going to be like a seamless like read through, because there are many YouTubers who have done that already. This is like a fun Scum villain experience. Okay, we're at the library. You are all the children sitting in the circle, and I am the teacher, and it's interactive. Okay. Kate says, drawing not safe for work, femme. Shi Qingxuan. Oh my god, my favorite flavor of Shi Qingxuan. But I am here to listen. Kate, please send me the whip of that. Oh my god. Thank you so much for your donation. No, he is out of town. He can't join us today. Number one Scum villain fucker won't be here. It's okay. It's okay. We did already read those first pages with him. And this won't be the only stream, because we are going to be reading the whole book together. Michaela, thank you so much for gifting a membership. I really appreciate that. The membership is the absolute best way to help support my channel. It means so much to me that we have so many incredible members, and that really, really means a lot. So thank you, Michaela. And Tina, welcome to the membership. Welcome to the kickflip community. I really appreciate that, Tina. Kenzie says, you are truly the reason we met. Briarbox and I were talking about how we have known each other for almost a year. That is crazy. That is so cute. No, Yi, how can we go on? I know, it feels wrong, doesn't it? Broccoli Fox, hey, how's it going? And Briarbox, hey, hi, I'm sleeping at the hospital again tonight. Oh my gosh, I hope that you're okay. So I'm not sure how I can stay, but yay for Scum. Glad you loved the Gojo whip, by the way. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Briarbox is writing some absolute filth. Filth in a good way. Hey, Jessica. How are you, Jessica? And Theo says, how much are memberships? There are different options. So if you click join, there's 3 different tiers that you can join. And all of the tiers can have access to the live streams, the Friday night live streams. Hello, Shizun Kickter. Thank you, baby girl Shalian. The booba artist. Oh yeah, Yi is very good at drawing pecs. Jessica says, I'm all right, tired, because I have destroyed my sleep schedule. Oof, I hope you can catch up on some sleep. Quinn, thank you so much for your donation, Quinn. You and Stitch are the reason for my growing Danmei collection. Keep up the good work. Oh, I'm so glad. It's a great feeling. I'm glad that you could be in the Danmei community, and we were the ones to guide you there. Thank you so much for your donation. And Johan Burt has been a member for 14 months. Thank you so much. Oh my god, that is over a year. I really appreciate that. I got a job and I have class, so it's been forever, but I'm finally here. I'm glad that you're here. This is awesome. And Mbeka, thank you so much for joining my membership. I really appreciate that. And Sugar Kiss gifted 5 memberships. Holy shit, Sugar Kiss! Thank you so much. Oh my god. Right off the bat, guys, I cannot believe how green the chat is already. There are so many members here. Thank you so much, Sugar Kiss. Oh my gosh, I'm very excited to finally know more about Scum Villain, because I know how much you like it, and you know more about Mobei-Jun and Sheng Qinghua as well. Welcome Nataria Zhang, Lele, Banichi Hill, Wolfren Runetail, Dio Brando. Welcome to the kickflip community. We call it kickflip because it's like kicked her, and Jung Chung can't do a kickflip, so it's like a joke. And Emma gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Emma. Oh my god. Emma, I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Emma also spoiled us. On Friday, we opened up a bunch of presents from her, and she gifted us the Donghua Manhua books that are just so cool, and they came with the most beautiful Hua Chung merch I'd ever seen. Sugar Kiss says, finally, kicked a read Scum Villain. It's happening. Silver, thank you so much for joining my membership. I really appreciate that, Silver. Thank you so much. And Miss Rosie gifted a membership. Thank you. And Miss Rosie has been so kind and has been donating, and with her donation letters, we're writing like, this is for bubble wrap. Stitch and I just got back from U-Haul and we bought so many more boxes. Literally, this room is the only room in our house that has not been packed away now. Like, it's probably tomorrow I'm going to have to take everything down, which includes like all of this. And oh, I'm not too worried about the figures because I know we're going to package them so perfectly and we're not moving super far away. But yes, we're moving and we have to pack up everything, and literally Stitch right now is packing up all of our books, which are so heavy. So we went and got some smaller boxes today for that. And Sandy gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Sandy. I really appreciate that. Let's see who got gifted that. Gui was gifted the membership by Sandy. Well, welcome, Gui, and thank you so much, Sandy. And also, let's see. Where are you guys moving? Just like around the block. We're living in an apartment and we're moving into a big house, which is awesome. And we're still living with my dad, but it's the type of house where it's like there's a full house below and a full house above kind of thing. So it's really, really lucky that we found like a perfect house like that, because we like have dogs together and I really like love my dad and have a really good relationship living with him and stuff. So it's awesome. Annika says, I saw Stitch's story about taking down the gallery walls. Yeah, it's rough. I know. I'm like, we're gonna live in a depressing house for a little bit because we're gonna have to live here while the apartment, we're trying to sell it. So they're gonna have to take pictures and with all the walls clear and stuff before we can move. Spacey and Minerva say hi since they are out, and Minerva is binging a series right now. Ooh, hello Spacey and Minerva. Hope you guys are having fun. And Miss Rosie, thank you so much for your donation. Oh my gosh, I really appreciate that. Boxes are fucking expensive. I can't believe, like, I know you can get, like, you can go and get some for free at, like, liquor stores or grocery stores and stuff like that, but for some of our more important stuff, we needed, like, really special, like, sturdy boxes, like, from U-Haul, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so fucking expensive. Guy also says, need more bubble wrap. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. You guys are way too kind. Thank you, Guy. I really appreciate that. Yui says, am I late? Did Kichter already read it? No, we have not started. We have not started. We're still hanging out with everybody. Leonera says, make sure to wrap the insides of boxes in blankets and clothes to keep the books cushioned. Also, you're the reason I read Golden Terrace. Thank you for your donation, and thank you for that tip. That is a really, really good tip. Stitch is packing stuff. I know she's like, we have so many stuffed animals, so I know that like half the boxes are like half books, half stuffed animals and clothes and stuff. And bubble wrap. We were able to afford the good bubble wrap. And I'm glad that you liked you read Golden Terrace. Yeah, Golden Terrace is a really, really good series. It's only 2 books. It's very romantic. Sandy says, I wish you a smooth move. Moving so much stuff is tricky, but you'll do just fine with all the bubble wrap. Yes. Yes, we are, oh god. Oh god. Oh my little guys, this took forever to set up. I'm not looking forward to it, but it'll be worth it because we're moving into a new big house. It'll be great. It'll be so great. And I'm also very excited to do cooking streams. I think that will be really fun because we have like a gorgeous kitchen. A Spark Major gifted 5 memberships. Oh my god, thank you so much, Spark Major. Oh my goodness. We got Danielle and Ev Enid and Hannah Richards and Aracella and Kaden. Thank you so much, Spark Major, and welcome everybody. Oh my gosh. I really appreciate that, Spark Major. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm just double checking I didn't miss anything. Okay, now, I just want to double check, like, while I'm reading, don't be afraid to ask questions or anything. Like, I don't want to just be reading silently, you know, I want to be hanging out with the chat the whole time. So, and it's fun. And also, I would like to put forth that Stitch! Stitch! Babe! 1 box of Danmei books down. Start taking bets on how many boxes I can finish by the end of the stream. Stitch, thank you so much. She's working so hard right now. She has also already read Scum Villain, so. Don't forget to pack up the chat so we can come along for the move and the housewarming. Oh, yes, absolutely. We'll put you in with all the bubble wrap. We gotta pack up the Briar box, too. Oh no, Lizzie says, in other news, I went out skiing today and fucked up my sprained ankle. No! Oh, I'm so sorry, but it was very fun. Okay, well, I'm glad it seemed worth it, at least. Okay, yes. If anyone has any questions, I would love this to be the type of space where if you have a question about a character, about anything, about something that's going on, you shouldn't feel scared to ask that question, because I hate that type of place where you feel like, oh, people are gonna think I'm dumb for asking such a dumb question. Everyone here, I know that my kickflips are so nice and understanding and willing to help someone out if someone has a question about anything, even if you think it's a dumb question, even if this is your first Danmei and you don't understand, you don't know how cultivation works or something like that. This is a safe space, I promise, because if anybody is mean or is bullying anybody or has a rude tone or something like that, I won't tolerate it. So be nice to everybody. I don't need to say that. I literally don't need to say be nice, because everyone is so nice, but it's more like I want to encourage people that are afraid maybe to speak up, to ask questions or participate, to do so, because everyone will be nice to you. And also that comes from me, who is going to have many questions, and I know that you guys will be very nice to me. And also, I will say, I only speak English. I will be making pronunciation mistakes, and please have grace with me. I would like to pronounce things properly, but also it can be very discouraging to a reader if people are also kind of being rude about, like, oh my god, your pronunciation is so awful, or like, it's pronounced like this. Like, that's not obvious to me. So please just have grace with the pronunciation, okay? Elliot says, we take care of the new Scum babies. Yes, exactly. Kate says, afraid to speak up, you say. May I remind you of the bonefish incident? During our Danmei game night, Kate may have mentioned something unspeakable that has to do with Hushwen's bonefish, and that is all I shall say. Okay. Shall we begin? Shall we begin? We're just gonna dive right on in. Okay, Scum Villain, Volume 1. There are no dumb questions, only dumb shizms. Only dumb huskies. Okay. It's happening. Proud Immortal Demon Way was a male power fantasy of a Stallion novel. To be more specific, Proud Immortal Demon Way was a monster-fighting escapist cultivation novel with an incomparably ridiculous length, a golden finger that broke every rule, and a harem size nearing 3 digits, seeing as every single female character fell for the protagonist. The year's hottest Stallion novel, there was no other. The male lead of this novel, Luo Binghe, was neither the kind who started heroic and invincible like a proud dragon of the heavens, nor the kind who was a loser, a good-for-nothing without merit. Yet he managed to trend with tens of thousands of readers on Zhongdian literature, inspiring countless other male fantasy novels to follow in his footsteps. He was the kind of lead who was pitch black, dark, and vicious, though before his heart blackened, he was the kind who suffered misery after misery. T. Spoonie has been a member for 1 month. Thank you so much. And says, yay, I have hockey and Kichter reading. How good. That sounds like a perfect evening. Also, when I was first reading this, I did not know what a Stallion novel was, but now I understand it is books that boys read. Can't relate as a girl. But yeah, it's this book for boys where it's like, fuck yeah, I destroy everyone and I fuck women and I'm awesome. So that's the type of book that Shen Yuan is reading. Male power fantasy. To be fair, I do enjoy the show Solo Leveling, which I feel like is kind of like that. You can't relate. We all read Danmei here. Yeah, exactly. Male circle jerk fantasy moment. Next, let a veteran reader of this novel, Shen Yuan, omit the countless fan servicey details and concisely summarize the million-word epic for everyone. Immediately after birth, Luo Binghe was abandoned by his parents, swaddled in white cloth, and put in a wooden basin that was lowered into the Luo River. This occurred on the coldest day of the year, and it was only thanks to fishermen pulling him out of the water that he didn't freeze to death as a baby. Because he'd been drifting along the Luo in a season when it was chocked with thin ice, he was given the name Luo Binghe. He's named after the river. What does Binghe mean? Anyone in the chat know? Luo Binghe spent his early years wandering the streets, hungry and cold, a dreary childhood. A washerwoman who worked for a wealthy family took pity on him, and since she had no children of her own, she adopted and raised him as her own. Mother and son were poor, and they suffered much humiliation at the hands of their rich patrons. Growing up in such an unhealthy environment became the foundation of Luo Binghe's future twisted personality post-darkening, his inclinations to fight over every scrap, seek revenge for the smallest grievance, and hide murderous intent behind a smile. Once he withstood the beatings of the family's young masters for a bowl of lukewarm meat congee, in the end he was still too late, and he failed to give his adopted mother even a single taste before she died. That's pretty tragic. Icy River describes Luo Binghe in a nutshell. Bing means ice. Wow, he's literally named ice, the fucking icy river. Binghe is Moses. By complete coincidence, he was selected for training by one of the cultivation world's 4 greatest sects, Sangchong Mountain. There he apprenticed under the Shu Ya sword, Shen Qingge. Luo Binghe thought he could finally start down a righteous path. He couldn't have expected that Shen Qingge was fair without, but foul within, trash of the lowest caliber. Shen Qingge was jealous of Luo Binghe's unparalleled and exceptional talent, and he secretly feared his disciple, whose cultivation improved by leaps and bounds every day. He always found new ways to taunt and demean Luo Binghe, even enlisting the boy's peers to belittle him. Throughout the years of studying, Luo Binghe endured every humiliation. It was another heart-wrenching arc in his story, filled with blood and tears. After much difficulty, Luo Binghe managed to turn 17, at which point he finally participated in the event the cultivation world held once every 4 years, the Immortal Conference. Oh yes, do you guys like the music on or music off? I'm gonna do a poll. Start a poll. Music on, off. This is literally the story of Moses with a twist. However, at the conference, Luo Binghe fell victim to Shen Qingge's scheming, and he tumbled into a crack in the boundary between the human and demon realms, the Endless Abyss. That's right, only then did the story truly begin. Not only did Luo Binghe survive, but within the Endless Abyss, he found his personal sword, the peerless mystical blade, Shin Mo. He also learned the truth of his origins. As it turned out, Luo Binghe had been born to the demon realm's saintly ruler and a woman of the human realm. Within his veins flowed the blood of the ancient heaven-fallen demons as well as that of the human race. He's a muggle. No, a mudblood. I don't know Harry Potter. His birth father, Tianlin Jun, had been sealed beneath a great mountain. Is that a punishment in other Danmei, or is that an MXTX only thing? Because, like, they sealed Junwu under a mountain, right? Trapped for all eternity. His birth mother had been a disciple from a righteous cultivation sect, but shortly following Tianlin Zheng's sealing, she had been expelled on suspicion of having secret ties to demons. She had died from a postpartum hemorrhage after giving birth to Luo Binghe, but prior to her death, she had set her son adrift from the lonely ship she'd birthed him on. Jewel, thank you for being a member for 3 months. hello, is this your first time reading the novel? It is. My very first time. I do not know what happens. It was the only way that she would be able to give Luo Binghe a chance to survive. Luo Binghe used Shin Mo to release his body's seal on his demonic blood. Then, within the dark abyss, he single-mindedly cultivated and enlightened himself to otherworldly techniques before heading back to Tsangchong Mountain sect. From there on out, Luo Binghe steadily headed down his dark path, never looking back. I mean, if I could see myself doing that. If I fell down a really deep crack and then found out I was a demon and was like, you know, all these people abused me and my mom died, I'm gonna be evil. You know, I get it. Every single one of his old enemies suffered great torment and died a horrible death by his hand. Okay, maybe I couldn't do that, but with his steadily improving ability to lie and scheme, Luo Binghe won the trust of many people, feigning compliance while secretly plotting against them. He seized power and rose in position, beginning a reign of terror. As the story unfolded, Luo Binghe's heart blackened further and further. He returned to the demon realm and inherited the position of saintly ruler. Yet unsatisfied, he began to eradicate each one of the human realm's great righteous sects, bathing them in blood, annihilating all who opposed him. This is quite similar to, like, Moran in a way. In the end, Luo Binghe became a legend spoken of for generations and of immortals and demons, hailed for his unification of the three realms, the uncountable size of his harem, and his boundless number of descendants. Dumbfuck author, dumbfuck novel! With his dying breath, Shen Yuan spat this final curse. Who could have imagined that an upstanding young man like him, who had properly purchased the website's VIP currency and read the novel's official version, would find himself persevering before his untimely death to finish a novel so stallion, so money-grubbing and overly padded that it left him speechless with rage? How could he not curse? How do you guys think he actually died? Like, do you think he, like, did he choke on something? I love you, airplane bro. Oh man, professional hater. It's literally just like his untimely death. Like he sucks to suck, but he died. Choked on a meat bun, that's funny. Quinn Silva, thank you for your donation. The ultimate rage quit, indeed. He was so angry that he died. A barnacle that was so ugly that everybody died. Proud Immortal Demon Way by airplane shooting towards the sky. What a name. Just looking at that euphemistic handle smacked you in the face with a dirty feeling. Grade school level writing with landmines everywhere, breaking all suspension of disbelief. And Shen Yuan couldn't bear to call that incoherent mess of a world the author had built a cultivation setting. What kind of cultivation world had people using horses and carriages all day? What kind of cultivation world had people who, after achieving inedia, still needed to eat and sleep? What kind of cultivation world had an author who occasionally mixed up even the stages of foundation, establishment, and nascent soul? What does that mean? Foundation, establishment, and nascent soul? When faced with protagonist, every single character acted like his total edgelord aura had devoured their intelligence, especially Luo Binghe's master, Shenqing Cho. That idiot among idiots, scum among scum. His only purpose was to dig his own grave, and he hadn't even managed to finish before he was killed by the protagonist instead. So why had Shen Yuan started this book, even going as far as to read it to the very end? Don't misunderstand. Shen Yuan didn't enjoy degrading himself. Oh. Oh. Interesting. Put a pin in that. The reason he had persisted was also what had caused him the most frustration. The novel had an incredible amount of foreshadowing, plot lines everywhere, mystery after mystery, layer upon layer of red herrings, and at the the very end, not a single one paid off. It was enough to make him want to puke a fountain of blood. Why were priceless herbs, spirit elixirs, and peerless beauties everywhere like they didn't cost a cent? Why were the villains' speeches and poses as they dug their graves and got offed all exactly the same? The dozens of maidens barely glimpsed, all of whom agreed to enter the harem. What happened to them? Alright, skipping that last one for the moment, who had been the culprit behind the scores of atrocities? Exactly what was the purpose of the unending list of characters so hyped up for being awesome and without equal? I like how he's like, okay, I can excuse the harem. I get the harem. I understand the harem. Why did none of them make an appearance, even at the very end? Towards the sky, bro, airplane, bro, great master. Can we have a discussion? Fill in plot holes, okay? Shenyuan felt like he could have come back to life with the power of sheer rage. In the endless darkness, a mechanical voice sounded by his ear. Activation code, dumbfuck author, dumbfuck novel, system automatically triggered. The tone reminded him of Google Translate. Who is this? Shenyuan looked around. It seemed like he was floating in a virtual space, one so dark that he couldn't see his hand before him. The voice came from all directions. Welcome to the system. The system operates in line with the design concept. You up, no BB. We hope to provide you with the best possible experience. It is our sincere wish that during your time you can fulfill your desires and, in accordance with your wish, transform a stupid work into a magnificent, high-quality, first-rate classic. We hope you enjoy. Is the system still around when they're, like, banging? In the midst of his ensuing vertigo, a man's voice asked lightly beside him, Shidi? Shidi, can you hear me? Shenyuan shuddered and settled his mind, forcibly peeling open his eyes. The scene that appeared before him was a massive whirling flurry. It took a while for everything to finally coalesce and slowly become clear. He laid on a bed. Looking up, a white gauzy canopy hung overhead, with finely crafted perfume pouches dangling from the four corners. Looking down, he wore a white robe of an ancient style. Next to the pillow laid a paper fan. Looking to his left, a handsome, elegant young man dressed in Xuanzhuan formal robe sat by his bedside, looking at him with concern. This is the Ice Age baby from the Donghua. Sumo says, that is the question you will find out an answer for at the right time. Shenyuan closed his eyes, then sharply reached for the folding fan and opened it with a snap. He lightly waved it, fanning away the cold sweat pouring down his face. He's already so gay. He's like, I get why Binghe has a harem, because he's hot. This man next to me, the first thing I notice about him is how handsome he is. And now he's got his little, like, sassy fan. Come on. The man's eyes lit up with joy. Shidi finally woke up, he said warmly. Do you have any discomfort? Nothing too bad, Shenyuan said with some reservation. The information overload was a bit much. He dazedly tried to sit up. As he did, the man quickly reached out to support his back, letting him lean against the headboard. Hello? Having read too many of Zhang Jian's transmigration novels, Shenyuan had long ago resolved that if he one day woke up to find himself lying in a strange place, the first words out of his mouth before he understood what was happening definitely wouldn't be a carefree giggle and, "Are you filming a movie? The props look so real. Your crew's really giving it their all." I.e., the words of a person slow-wittedly trying to find their footing. Rather, Shenyuan concentrated on acting like he'd just woken up, expression absent-minded. Where is this? Soul says, Kictor, I've been having a bad day today and this stream has made me feel so much better. I love these streams. I'm so glad. I'm sorry you had a bad day, but we're here for you. I wish I could give you a big hug and I hope that your day can get a little bit better. The man's startled. Did you sleep yourself into a trance? This is your Yingying peak. Internally, Shenyuan was shocked, but he continued to act muddled. Why was I asleep for so long? That's what I wanted to ask you. You were in perfect health, so how did you suddenly come down with a high fever? I know that with the Immortal Alliance conference approaching, you've been training your disciples and are anxious to see results. But with Changjiang Mountain being such a well-established and renowned sect, even if one of our own didn't attend this time, no one would dare question us. Why concern yourself with empty words? The more Shenyuan listened, the more something felt off. Why did these lines sound so familiar? no, why did this setup seem so familiar? The man's next sentence, single and earnest, confirmed all his suspicions. Chencho, Shidi, are you listening to Shishong? At this moment, something dinged, and the mechanical Google Translate-like voice from his dreamscape spoke again. The system was successfully activated. Bound roll, Luo Binghe's master, Changjiang Mountain Sect's peak lord of Yingying Peak, Shenjing Chou. Weapon, the sword Shu Ya. Starting B points, 100. Fuck, what bullshit is this? How come you're speaking directly into my brain? Does airplane shooting towards the sky know that you're plagiarizing Proud Immortal Demon Ways setting like this? Of course, Shen Yuan didn't say this out loud, but the voice swiftly responded. You have triggered the system's execution command and have been bound to the Shenjing Chou account. As the plot progresses, various point types will gradually become available. Please ensure that no score falls below 0, or the system will automatically met out punishment. Stop, enough. Shen Yuan was sure now. He'd hit the jackpot. He'd transmigrated! Transmigrated into a story he'd just finished, moreover. Even if it was a pitch-black Stallion novel he'd hated, and even if it came with some kind of shitty system. As a 21st century veteran VIP reader of Zhongdian literature, Shen Yuan had read various types of do-over and transmigration male power fantasy novels year in and year out, so theoretically, he could have happily and easily accepted this fact. But of all people, the shell he was borrowing just happened to belong to the male lead scum villain master Shenjing Chou. This made the situation rather complicated. The amicable-looking elder brother type beside him was Changjiang Mountain Sect's current leader, Shenjing Chou's Shishong, the Xuansu sword, Liu Qingge. Fuck. There was a very important reason Shen Yuan emphatically thought fuck at the sight of Liu Qingge. In the original work, Liu Qingge's death had been caused by his good shidi, Shenjing Chou. Okay? And what a horrific death it was. Tens of thousands of arrows had pierced him until not even his bones remained. How many fucking arrows, I mean tens of thousands, do you have to get hit by for your bones not even to remain? That's crazy. At this moment, the victim was facing his own murderer and showing him with concern. The pressure was immense. On second glance, though, the story hadn't yet unfolded to that point. Liu Qingge was still in perfect health, meaning that at this point in time, Shenjing Chou had yet to reveal himself as a hypocrite, and his reputation was still pristine. Liu Qingge was a bleeding heart, nothing to be afraid of, though his character ended up suffering quite a bit during his read. Shen Yuan had been rather fond of him. He was just about to relax, when a string of words floated eerily to the forefront of his mind. Within the dark, gloomy room, a metal chain hung from a beam. At the end of the chain dangled a ring. The ring was fastened around a person's waist, if it could still be considered a person. This person's appearance was filthy and disheveled, like that of a madman. The most frightening thing about him was that all 4 of his limbs had been severed. His shoulders and thighs were all 4 bare knobs of flesh. When touched, he would let out a hoarse sound. His tongue had been torn out too, rendering him unable to form complete words. Ew! That's so fucking gross! Ew! And that is a passage from Proud Immortal Demon Way on Shenjing Chou's fate. Ugh. That's gross. Shen Yuan, Shenjing Chou, rested his forehead on his hand. He was in no position to lament the horrors of other people's deaths. The most horrific death was his own, okay? Henceforth, he had to avoid any critical errors. First, eliminate any mistake at the root. Second, from now on, cling madly to the male lead's thighs. Third, be a good mentor and helpful friend who was earnest and gentle in his teachings. Meticulously show the male lead every kind of concern. The moment Shenjing Chou had these thoughts, a long string of alarms erupted in his mind, as if 100 police cars carrying 100 shrieking divine beasts were zooming past. It was so cacophonous that he shuddered, clutching his head in pain. Shidi, does your head still hurt? Liu Qingge asked worriedly. Teeth clenched. Shenjing Chou didn't answer. Bro clung a little too hard to Binghe's thighs. Yeah. Cling those thighs. But Luo Binghe wants to be the one clinging to his thighs. That's so funny. Yee! I was thinking the same thing. He's clutching Binghe's third leg. His third thigh. Oh my gosh. Warning, the system shrilly notified him. This proposed plan is incredibly dangerous and qualifies as a violation. Please do not attempt, or the system will automatically met out punishment. How was that a violation? Currently, you are at the beginner level, and the OOC feature is frozen. You must complete a beginner level quest to unfreeze it. Before unfreezing, any act in violation of the original Shen Qingzhou character settings will result in a deduction of a fixed number of B points. As a semi-otaku, Shen Qingzhou had seen a number of fanworks related terms here and there, you know what I mean, so of course he knew the definition of OOC, an acronym for out of character, defined as breaking character or acting in a way inconsistent with the character's canonical personality. In other words, before that whatever feature gets unfrozen, my behavior and actions can't differ from what Shen Qingzhou would do? Correct. This system had already let him transmigrate into Shen Qingzhou's shell, replacing him, but it still cared about a detail like being OOC? You just said something about how this points can't fall below 0. If they do, what happens? You will automatically be deported back to your original world. Original world? But in Shen Yuan's original world, his body had already expired. In other words, if he lost all his bees or whatever, he would... what would await him is death. Well, if he just ignored the male lead and avoided doing anything, that would be fine, right? He raised his head and scanned the room, but among the disciples waiting on him by his bedside, he didn't see anyone that matched Luo Binghe's description. Feigning unconcern, he said, "Where is Luo Binghe?" Wei Qingyang paused, giving him a strange look. Shen Qingzhou remained straight-faced, but was secretly filled with glee. Was it possible that the time wasn't ripe? That the male lead had yet to apprentice to Shengqiang Mountain Sect? Shiri, don't be angry, said Yue Qingyuan. An ominous premonition stirred in Shen Qingzhou's heart. Yue Qingyuan sighed. I know you don't like him, but that child's already worked hard enough, and he hasn't made any significant mistakes. Don't punish him any further, alright? Hearing this, Shen Qingzhou's lips felt dry. He wet them and said, You can just say it. Where is he? Yue Qingyang was silent for a moment. Whenever you finish stringing him up and beating him, haven't you always shut him in the woodshed? Shen Qingzhou's vision went dark. Oh, it's so bad. Oh my gosh. Yi says he is low-key approaching Shen Yuan levels of spending on Luo Binghe merch. Shen Yuan definitely has one of those Ida bags that are just repeats of the same pin badge. Yes, 100%. Shen Yuan would have all of Yi's merch. Shen Yuan has a body pull of Luo Binghe and nothing can change my mind. It's so funny that Bingle is a canon masochist. Yue Qingyang being a little too chill with child abuse. Yeah, he's like, oh, you probably shouldn't abuse him. The system is literally Kenzie playing Zelda, screaming at you to change your outfit because of the weather. Yi says Shen Yuan would commission different enamel pin designs. Oh my gosh. Okay. In his previous life, Shen Yuan had been well off growing up, and he'd basically qualified as a modest example of a second-generation rich kid. His two older brothers had been sent to inherit the family business, and he doted on his little sister. The entire family had been very close. From early on, he'd known that even if he idled the rest of his life away, he'd never want for food. Perhaps due to this carefree upbringing devoid of either competition or pressure, he came to believe that ranking in the top 10 of a competition was good enough, so as long as it had more than 10 people. Therefore, he'd never understood what scum villains like Shen Qingzhou were thinking as they dug their own graves. The original Shen Qingzhou had both training and cultivation and the qualifications to prove his experience, not to mention the self-restraint to put up a facade. He wanted for neither standing nor reputation, and with the support of the world's largest sect, he would never want for money either. So why did he have not even a speck of the poise expected of an immortal? Why did he act like one of those bitter courtyard complex concubines, with too much time on their hands? Why was he so unable to tolerate the main character, no matter how innocuous his behavior? And why did he spend day in, day out scheming up new torments for him, even getting others to do so in his place? Even if Luo Binghe was blessed with heavenly talent, and even if his aptitude was exceptional to the point that he was more or less cheating, there was still no need to envy him to that extent, you know? Still, the blame didn't really lie with Shen Qingzhou. It lay with the author. These types of villains were everywhere in the novel, as numerous as carp in a river. It was just that Shen Qingqiu's character had been especially detailed, and especially rotten. What could you do, though? The ultimate boss in this book was the protagonist himself. How could a firefly outshine the sun and moon? The cultivation world had dubbed Shen Qingqiu the Shu Ya sword, so naturally he had the appearance and bearing to match. Even now, glancing left and right into a blurry bronze mirror, Shen Qingqiu was quite satisfied with what he saw. Oh, he's like, I'm hot. I'm sexy. It was a fine-featured face with pitch-black eyes and brows, thin nose and lips, and a modest scholarly air. Combined with a slender body and long legs, he could more or less be considered beautiful. Though his real age was unclear, this was a cultivation novel. Shen Qingqiu had achieved mid-core formation, which meant he had perfectly preserved his youthful appearance. He was certainly many times better looking than Shen Yuan's headcanon for him. He still couldn't compare to Luo Binghe. The moment Shen Qingqiu thought of Luo Binghe, he was instantly struck with a pounding headache. He wanted to go see Luo Binghe, who was currently shut in the woodshed, but as soon as he took a single step, that ear-piercing notification rang once more in his mind. Shizen is snatched. Yeah. Beautiful like a sword. Keep Stallion away. Oh my gosh. Shen Yuan, stop glazing him. Yeah, he's simping already. I know! Oh my god. Warning, OOC, Shen Qingqiu would not take the initiative to visit Luo Binghe. Fine, I'll get someone else to bring him. No problem there, right? Shen Qingqiu snapped. He thought for a moment, then called, Ming Fan! A youth around 16 years old, tall and thin, promptly ran in through the door. This disciple is here. What instructions does Shifu have? Shen Qingqiu couldn't help but send a couple more glances his way. Ming Fan's appearance was respectable enough. It was just that his face was a bit unfortunate, with a sharp mouth and sunken cheeks. These days, that's hot. Internally, Shen Qingqiu tissed and lamented, as expected for classic canon fodder. This was the most senior of the original Shen Qingqiu disciples, Luo Binghe's Shishong, Ming Fan. This was also the legendary lowest level of canon fodder. Needless to say, when it came to things like locking Luo Binghe out of the dorms late at night or feeding him false techniques on purpose, Ming Fan was the ever-present perpetrator. Whenever Shen Qingqiu felt inclined to torment Luo Binghe, Ming Fan was always his most useful assistant and most enthusiastic supporter. Knowing that this child's fate in the original work wasn't much better than his own, Shen Qingqiu couldn't help but look at him with the pitying gaze of a fellow victim. Go bring Binghe here. Ming Fan was plainly unnerved. Whenever Shen Qingqiu had called for Luo Binghe in the past, he'd always referred to him as that little beast, that ungrateful brat, this wretch, or whelp. He'd hardly ever used Luo Binghe's full name more than a few times. Where had this sudden change come from? But Ming Fan didn't dare question a command from his Shifu. He jogged to the woodshed right away and kicked the door twice. Get out! Shizen's calling you! Shen Qingqiu paced within his room, exhaustively examining the system within his mind. B points, also known as points awarded for being a badass, the more B points one accrues, the more magnificent, high quality, and first-rate the work has become. Then how can I raise my B points? 1. Change the nonsensical plot and raise the average IQ of the villains and supporting characters. 2. Avoid landmines that break suspension of disbelief. 3. Ensure the main character's satisfaction points. 4. Discover and finish hidden plot events. Like gay sex. Shen Qingqiu analyzed each option one by one. In short, not only did he have to clean up the original Shen Qingqiu's messes, the Shen Qingqiu who had a veritable mob of enemies coming for his ass, he also had to stop other characters from creating more messes. He didn't even know if he could persevere his own sorry life, and here he needed to ensure that the main character preserved his OP-ness, time in the spotlight, and harem size. All those unsolved mysteries, those plot holes the author had neglected to fill, and now Shen Qingqiu had to grab a shovel and sweat away, filling them in himself. Ah, great master, airplane shooting towards the sky, had claimed that proud immortal Demon Wei's purpose was perfectly clear, and that each word had been written with a single goal in mind, to satisfy the reader. This was especially evident in how, in the future, the OP male lead would play innocent in a wolf's sheep clothing, hunting other wolves, exacting revenge against lowlifes, generating enough satisfaction to overturn the heavens. Thus, the work's popularity had swelled rapidly as it grew longer and longer until no foot-binding cloth could compare to its length. Keeping track of the plot had been stressful even as a reader. Insane landmines were everywhere. How could he manage to avoid all of them? What kind of plot would qualify as not nonsensical? Shen Qingqiu asked. The standard is subjectively determined. It depends on the reader's reactions. Then how many points do I need to collect to launch a beginner level quest? The timing is simultaneously determined. When the requirements have been met, the system will automatically notify you. Subjectively determined, situationally determined, what an all-purpose remedy. Shen Qingqiu scoffed, then upon hearing the door open, looked back to see a youth slowly walk in. So does this mean that there are people in the real world now reading this revised novel? Maybe this is what happened with TGCF. Someone got sent into TGCF and this is the revised edition. Shizen! The youth spoke respectively, even though his movements were unsteady, and he still managed to stand perfectly straight. The small smile that had been forming at the corner of Shen Qingqiu's mouth froze. He was definitely dead. Before him was that face that would, in the future, infatuate everyone who saw it, from 8-year-old women to infants still in their swaddling clothes, the Gary Stu protagonist's face, and he'd beaten it to this extent, he was dead! But even though this face bore clear evidence of abuse and was covered in injuries, the protagonist was, as expected, still the protagonist. Luo Binghe's 2 eyes were as bright as morning stars, a tender shoot of a handsome young man. That firm yet humble countenance demonstrating his noble and unyielding spirit, that pencil-straight back and stance evincing a proud core that would rather break than bend. In that instant, a flood of parallelism and other stylistic devices flooded through Shen Qingqiu's heart, passage after passage jumping together into countless stanzas of praise that almost spilled forth out of his mouth. Oh my god, he almost was like, "You're so beautiful!" Luckily, Shen Qingqiu managed to rein it in, albeit while internally yelling about how close he'd come. The underlying hardware of this protagonist's halo of excellence was really too much. He almost couldn't hold back. He cannot control himself! Oh my god. Shen Qingqiu's mouth twitched as he watched Luo Binghe limp through the door, then struggled to kneel. "I can't afford your submission. If you pay respects to me today, you are definitely going to kneecap me in the future." "No need." Shen Qingqiu stopped Luo Binghe, and with a flick of his wrist, he tossed over a small bottle. "This is medicine." He paused before adding in a mocking tone, "Don't let anyone see. They might think my Qingjing Peak abuses its disciples." Miss Rosie, thank you for your donation for Baby Bing. Oh, thank you so much, Miss Rosie. That's so nice of you. Yeah, Baby Bing is abused. Here, take some medicine. We wouldn't want anyone to think I'm abusing you. Jeez. Shen Qingqiu had assumed his role quickly. Even though he'd done something daringly subversive by handing over medicine, he'd also done it with a nasty attitude. Therefore, it was passably in line with Shen Qingqiu's hypocritical nature, his tendency to do evil while he simultaneously feared others finding out. Indeed, the system did not send an OOC notification. Shen Qingqiu let out a sigh of relief. Luo Binghe had expected that his master had called for him for further instruction. He never would have thought he would be offered medicine. At first, he froze. Then he respectfully received the small bottle with both hands and said with honest gratitude, "Thank you for the medicine, Shizen." At this point in time, Luo Binghe's face was still full of innocence, his smile sincere and gentle like the warm dawning sun. Shen Qingqiu stared at it for a while, then turned his head away. Prior to his darkening, this male lead's personality was that of a model and upright youth. Shine a bit of sunlight on him and he'd glow. Give him a scrap of goodwill and he'd return it tenfold. That type. It would have not been an exaggeration to call him a little lamb. Oh. Thank you, Kookie, for joining my membership. Welcome to the Kickflip community. Thank you so much. This disciple will henceforth redouble his efforts and not let Shizen be disappointed, Luo Binghe happily continued. No, if you redouble your efforts, I'm guessing your original master would be really disappointed. If Shen Qingqiu hadn't read Proud Immortal Demon Way, he would have found the sight of the scene heart-wrenching, and he probably would have shed a couple sympathetic tears for Luo Binghe's plight. As it was, he'd seen everything from beginning to end from an omniscient perspective, so he'd been privy to Luo Binghe's plentiful and colorful thoughts post-blackening. To wit, Luo Binghe's current pitifulness directly correlated to the future ferocity of his wanton laughter as he ground his foot into your head. Though he would wear the mask of a kind and humble gentleman, inside all his thoughts would be about how he'd rip out your tendons, pull out your bones, peel off your skin, and hang it out to dry. Ew. Luo Binghe smiled. Today, the humiliation this disciple once suffered will return 100-fold. For injuring my hands and feet, I'll tear off your limbs and grind them to dust. Proud Immortal Demon Way, selected passage number 2. Ugh. Blasphemous says he'll be grinding somewhere else. Oh my god. After that, he had in actual fact carved Shen Qingge into a human stick. Binghe, how's your cultivation progress? Shen Qingge asked in a deliberate, aloof tone as he moved to sit in a sandalwood chair. With a single Binghe, he terrified himself to the point that frightened goosebumps rose all down his back. Luo Binghe's back also shook with a clear shudder, but he still managed to smile tinged with shyness. This disciple is stupid and still failed to understand. That was about right. With fake cultivation manuals, the fact that he hadn't yet suffered a chi deviation was all thanks to his incredible protagonist-level durability. If he'd actually understood anything in that manual, it would have been a miracle. Boy, come hang out with me, Shen Qingge yelled within his heart. This master will deliver unto you the correct techniques. That demonic system's warning notification started blaring incessantly. I was only thinking about it, Shen Qingge said to the system. Of course I know, it would be a violation. Out loud, he spoke casually. Today, the master punished you out of his own impatience. After all, time waits for no one. Now that I think about it, you've been under me for a while. How old are you this year? This disciple is 14, Luo Binghe obediently replied. 14, huh? That meant that at this point, this master and this disciple, Shen Qingge and Luo Binghe, had already passed the incident at the mountain entrance. There, the latter had been forced to kneel as punishment. It meant they also passed the incident where Luo Binghe's fellow Yingying Peak disciples had pummeled him en masse, as well as the incident where he'd back-talked Shizen, and had been strung up and beaten. Jeez. In addition to the incident where he'd ruined the peak's talismans and been punished with hard labor. Such a glorious track record. Damn. Shen Qingge waved goodbye to his last hope of survival. Shen Qingge rested his forehead on one hand and waved Luo Binghe away with the other. I wish to be alone. Shit, he's already been abused. Yeah. Apple Dash says, what kind of Jing Guanyao style backlash is this? Right? I was thinking that too. Poor Jiggy and his fake cultivation books. Shen Qingge was an easygoing person. Since his residential address had already changed to Proud Immortal Demon Way, and since he'd already kicked the bucket in his original world, he figured he might as well try making it work here. Leonra, thank you so much for your donation. The system really should have sent him earlier, right? That's okay, now he's really got to work for it. Thank you for your donation. He'd arrived in a cultivation setting, received a body with decent martial ability and swordsmanship for free, and was also part of a famous righteous sect. If he wanted to stand out, he could stand out, and if he wanted to lie low, he could hole up on Changchong Mountain sect's Qingjing Peak and be a recluse. What was there to complain about? The only slightly difficult thing would be finding a girlfriend. Oh my. In this sort of male power fantasy stallion novel, any woman inevitably belonged to the male lead, as long as she wasn't ugly. Everyone knew this. Still, Shen Qingge was a man of few needs. He would have been satisfied just idling away to a ripe old age, and that way it wouldn't be that different from how his previous life had been going. Oh, so he's a mega virgin. However, while Luo Binghe was a factor, making a name for himself was right out. If Shen Qingge remained anywhere near the original work setting, even if he found some non-existent paradise to seclude himself in, once Luo Binghe took power, he'd still be able to carve Shen Qingge into a human stick. It's not that I don't want to cling to the male lead's thighs, but who made him so damn black-hearted? He's the type who seeks thousandfold retribution. He's like, I'll grab his thighs. After his daily cursing at Great Master Airplane, Shen Qingge quickly set some goals. In short, familiarize himself with his environment, work with the system as much as possible, diligently pursue more accomplishments, earn B points, and unfreeze the OOC function as soon as possible. If the situation started looking grim, he'd have to seek out an alternative strategy. Xinjiang's 12 peaks were like 12 giant swords forged by nature, steep and magnificent, piercing the skies. Shenjingzhou's Qingjing Peak wasn't the tallest, but it was the most tranquil, heavily forested with tall bamboo. On top of that, as basically all of Shenjingzhou's disciples needed to learn the 4 scholarly arts of guqin playing, go, calligraphy, and painting, from time to time, the clear sounds of reading and the murmur of the guqin would drift on the breeze. It was an excellent destination for scholarly youths, steeped in ancient arts and literature and perfectly aligned with the needs of the original Shenjingzhou. That poser. As Shenjingzhou passed a group of disciples, they respectfully asked after his health. He schooled his countenance to match the original's cold, aloof look, nodding slightly while walking with his hands clasped behind his back. He managed to get by with this, troubled only over how he was supposed to match the book's names to these wavering faces. This wasn't Shenjingzhou's most pressing concern, however. This was self-defense, and for that, he needed to figure out how to employ the original's flavor, martial ability, and swordsmanship. If you remembered correctly, before Luo Binghe darkened, Zhangjiang Mountain Sect suffered a succession of significant incidents, things like demonic incursions and the Immortal Alliance Conference. Shenjingzhou would have to deal with all of them. If all he had to work with was a shell with no cultivation ability, forget following the plot. The male lead wouldn't have to leave the finger before an insignificant no-name monster got him killed. Shenjingzhou walked deep into the forest alone. Only after confirming no one was in sight did he remove the sword at his waist. He held the scabbard in his left hand and the hilt in his right, and he slowly pulled it out. Shu Ya had been with Shenjingzhou since he was young, and newly known, it could have been considered prestigious unto itself. The flash of its blade was snow white, luminous but not blinding, definitely a top-class armament. When one channeled spiritual energy into the weapon, the blade glowed faintly. As Shenjingzhou pondered exactly how to channel spiritual energy, the sword in his hand began to shimmer white. It seemed like he'd inherited the original cultivation and martial abilities as well. His mind had filled in the gaps without him needing to consciously remember. Wanting to see Shu Ya's power, Shenjingzhou casually slashed once. Who knew a single slash would be so terrifying? The sword's arc dazzled like a flash of lightning released from his palm, so bright that even UV 400 sunglasses wouldn't have saved him if he hadn't closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he beheld a deep ditch that had been carved into the ground, as if it had been split by lightning. Holy shit! Shenjingzhou remained expressionless, but his heart surged with exhilaration. So damn awesome! Power worthy of a character who was a peak soul master. With this level of cultivation, if he diligently trained for the next 20 years, then maybe in the future, as a last resort, if he absolutely had to face that overpowered Luo Binghe, he might just be able to flee in disgrace. Yes, all he wanted was to be able to flee in disgrace. All he wanted was to practice more, but he heard the sound of subtle footsteps, snapping dry twigs. In truth, that sound was still a long way off, but his 5 senses were highly sensitive, and it would have been difficult not to notice. Shenjingzhou studied that deep ditch in the ground, then sheathed his sword with a clink before hiding himself within the greenery. The footsteps came closer and closer. There was more than one person. As expected, a moment later, the first face to appear was Luo Binghe's, seeming to shine with its own light. The first sound, however, was that crisp, delicate voice of a young maiden. Aluo, Aluo, look, there's a huge ditch in the ground. Upon hearing this name, Shenjingzhou almost staggered from his hiding place. Shenjingzhou's youngest female disciple, Ning Yingying, the system said concisely. What use was that introduction? Shenjingzhou hissed. Everyone knows that only one person addresses Luo Binghe that way. The pretty girl following Luo Binghe came into view as well. She looked slightly younger than Luo Binghe, lovely and adorable, her braided hair bound with the orange ribbons as she ran and skipped, brimming with naivety. Every proper cultivation novel had to have a charming young Shimei type. This young Shimei inspired some complicated feelings in Shenjingzhou. This was because he had designs on Ning Yingying. No, more like the original Shenjingzhou had designs on Ning Yingying. Shenjingzhou's character setting were stuck on shady hypocrite. Since on the surface he looked pure-hearted, free of desire, and immune to wicked temptations, then beneath the surface he had to be immoral, shameless, scummy, and despicable. He was a teacher, but he harbored filthy intentions towards his obedient and cheerful disciple. He tried to carry them out on several times in the story, and he very nearly succeeded. Ew! One can, however, imagine the result of daring to try to get a taste of the male lead's woman. Oh boy. While reading, Shen Qingqiu had thought it a little strange that Luo Binghe hadn't tried to castrate the creep. His failure to do so absolutely didn't jive with Binghe's dark charm. So he'd gone to the comment section and joined the mob in flooding it with posts to the tune of, "Please castrate Shen Qingqiu. No castration, we unsubscribe." Oh my gosh. Upon reflection and closer consideration, Shen Qingqiu was profoundly terrified. If the appeal had succeeded then, he'd absolutely had to have chopped off the hand with which he had made those posts. Luo Binghe glanced over once and offered only a half-hearted smile. But Ning Yingying wanted his attention, and she fumbled around for something to say. "Tell me, Luo, which Xishang was practicing their sword glares out here?" "On Qingjing Peak, I'm afraid only Shizun has this level of cultivation," Luo Binghe answered as he picked up an axe and started chopping at a tree. He only spoke one line, then paid her no more heed. His focus was entirely on his own actions as he raised and lowered the axe, chopping in earnest. These trees were neither thin nor weak, and the axe was half rusted. At this time, Luo Binghe was only 14 years old, so chopping was tremendously taxing. Taxing, more like axing. Yi, thank you for your donation, Yi. Thank you for reading Scum Villain finally. I am happy to do it, Yi. I really, really am happy. Thank you for your donation. Soon, sweat poured down his face. Ning Yingying sat on an old log, watching him with her face propped in her hands. After a while, she was bored again, and wheedled, Luo, play with me." "I can't." Luo Binghe didn't even have the time to wipe away his sweat. He continued to swing the axe as he spoke. "Our Xishang told me that after I finish chopping today's wood, I also have to carry the water. If I finish chopping quickly, I can clear out some time to meditate." "Our Xishangs really are awful, always making you do this and that. It looks to me like they're bullying you on purpose." Ning Yingying pouted. I'll go back and tell Shizun. Once I do, they won't dare bully you anymore." Until this point, Shen Qingqiu had been treating his experience like he was at a shoot for a scene of Proud Immortal Demon Way drama, just passing through and enjoying a tale of two childhood sweethearts. Upon hearing this, he paled in shock. No, you absolutely can't come tell me. What am I supposed to do? I can't be OC. Who exactly should I punish? But at this time, even while the Luo Binghe was experiencing the full depth and breadth of humanity's hardships, he still had the pure heart of a white lotus. He shook his head at Ning Yingying. "Absolutely don't. I don't want to trouble Shizun with these small matters. Our Xishang don't mean any harm. They just see that I'm young and want to give me more chances to train." Oh, Bing. In that instant, Shen Qingqiu could almost see 10,000 rays of lights behind Luo Binghe. He couldn't help but back up 3 steps, unable to look directly at a male lead who had achieved such transcendent states of being, who attained such profound enlightenment. Jewel, thank you for your donation. Jewel says, "Guys, please remember no Scum Villain and Arha spoilers." Oh, yes, please. Please no spoilers for either of those books. I have not read them. Inside his heart, Shen Qingqiu released a long sigh. In truth, even during the early misery-ridden part of the storyline, the protagonist's overpowered nature had already started to emerge. The cultivation manual Ming Fan had given Luo Binghe was a fake. The more he trained by following it, the more his techniques should have degraded until they were absolute rubbish. But with his peerless talent and his body's half-demon blood, Luo Binghe had managed to eke out a path of his own by complete accident. It was entirely unscientific. While Shen Qingqiu sighed, there came the sound of another set of jumbled footsteps. As soon as he heard them, Shen Qingqiu knew that this coming wouldn't be good. Ming Fan stepped onto the clearing, leading several low-ranked disciples. Upon seeing Ning Yingying, he delightedly strode up and grabbed her hand. Xiao Shimei, I finally found you. How could you come to a place like this without saying anything? The backside of the mountain is so large. What if someone dangerous, or a dangerous beast or a poisonous snake leapt out? Come, Xishang has something fun to show you. Naturally, Ming Fan saw Luo Binghe silently sitting nearby, but he ignored the other boy as if he were nothing but air. However, Luo Binghe, being very well-mannered, opened his eyes and spoke. Xishang, I'm not afraid of poisonous snakes or dangerous beasts, Ning Yingying giggled. Besides, Luo is with me. Ming Fan swept his gaze towards Luo Binghe, squinted, and scoffed. To Shen Qingqiu, Ming Fan's thoughts couldn't have been clearer. He heard the affectionate way Ning Yingying addressed Luo Binghe, and in that moment, his annoying Shidi had become even more irritating. In the end, Ning Yingying had a young girl's dispossession, completely unable to take a hint or read the room. "What fun thing does Xishang have?" she asked and tilted her head. "Hurry up and show me." Ming Fan became all smiles. He unfastened a deep green jade ornament from his waist and held it in front of her. "Shimei, my family just came to visit, and they brought me lots of high quality and interesting little trinkets. I thought this one was particularly pretty. I'll give it to you." Ning Yingying took it from him and examined it closely in the sunlight, shining through the leaves. "Well, do you like it?" Ming Fan asked eagerly. From his hiding place, Shen Jingqiu finally remembered. This was that scene. Not good. He shouldn't have come. Danger! He couldn't be blamed for not remembering clearly. How could someone who'd cursed dumbfuck author, dumbfuck novel remember ancient content from the beginning of a serialized novel that had been running for 4 years and covered an in-narrative span of 200 years? He'd spent 20 days binging the novel from start to finish, so he had clean forgotten that wump-filled arc of pointless abuse that covered Luo Binghe's beginning at the sect. Ning Yingying had absolutely no idea what was high quality and what wasn't. After looking nonchalantly at a while, she tossed the jade ornament back. Ming Fan's smile froze on his face. "What? The color is so ugly. The one Alua has is prettier," Ning Yingying said, carelessly, as she wrinkled her nose. Not only did Ming Fan look unhappy, but Luo Binghe, who'd been wisely pretending to not exist, trembled lightly as his eyes snapped open. "Does Shidi also wear this kind of thing?" Ming Fan spat through gritted teeth. Luo Binghe hesitated slightly. He hadn't managed to answer when Ning Yingying barged in. "Of course he does. Every day he wears it close around his neck. It's his treasure. He refuses to even let me look at it." Although Luo Binghe was usually so composed, at this point his expression also changed. He unconsciously clutched the Goddess of Mercy Guanyin pendant around his neck, hidden beneath his clothes. "Your IQ and EQ, young lady. The male lead is taking all the collateral damage." Ning Yingying absolutely hadn't considered the consequences of these words as she said them. She'd only been thinking of how she always saw Luo Binghe wearing the jade guanyin close to his skin, never parting with it. Girls in particular invariably wanted to get their hands on the things their crushes treasured, which they hoped would confer upon them the satisfaction of being a special person. But Luo Binghe simply refused to give her that recognition. Displeased, she'd brought it up in this half-sweet, half-brazen manner. Of course, she'd refused, okay? Luo Binghe's washerwoman mother had spent almost her entire life saving to finally, with great difficulty, give her son the consecrated protective charm she wanted for him. It was the only bit of warmth in Luo Binghe's dark world, always by his side, even in the future when he was at his darkest. It could summon up his last dregs of humanity. So how could he randomly hand it to anyone? Ming Fan, both angry and jealous, advanced a few steps. "Luo Shidi, you sure are stuck up, refusing to show Ning Yingying Shimei your pendant," he snarled. "If this keeps up, when we face strong enemies in the future, will you refuse to even lend a hand?" "Young man, there's definitely a logical gap between your first and second lines." "It's fine if he doesn't want to, Xishang, don't bully him." Ning Yingying hadn't thought things would turn out like this, and she anxiously stamped her feet. How could Luo Binghe best Ming Fan at this point? Not to mention a group of junior disciples, who were Ming Fan's lackeys, were also ganging up on him. In a moment, that jade guanyin fell from Luo Binghe's neck into Ming Fan's hands. Ming Fan raised it up for a look, then suddenly laughed loudly. "Why are you laughing?" Ning Yingying said, confused. "I thought it had to be some rare treasure for him to protect it so fiercely. Shimei, guess what it is?" Ming Fan tossed the jade pendant into Ning Yingying's hands, positively gleeful as he chuckled. "It's a counterfeit." "Oh, it's so sad." "Counterfeit?" Ning Yingying asked. "What's that?" "Give it back." Luo Binghe enunciated each word. His fists slowly clenched, a treacherous undercurrent surging in the depths of his eyes. Shen Jingqiu's fingertips involuntarily twitched once, then again, and again. Naturally, he remembered that the jade guanyin was a counterfeit, but he also knew that it was Luo Binghe's biggest berserk button. Uh-oh. Not the berserk button! For an entire year, the washerwoman had scrimped and saved on food and utilities, but because she lacked experience, a con man had tricked her into paying a high price for a fake charm. Heartbroken after this, her body had steadily deteriorated. Luo Binghe would undoubtedly be unable to forget this pain for the rest of his life. Thus, this was the one insult that Luo Binghe could never tolerate. As a bystander, Shen Qingqiu desperately wanted to reach out, beat up Ming Fan, and snatch back the jade pendant and toss it to Luo Binghe. Also, if he did that, maybe Ming Fan wouldn't thoroughly offend Luo Binghe? Then later on, he could keep his paltry little life. OOC. Thank you. Shut up. You want it back? I'll give it back. Who knows which street stall this cheap thing was purchased from? Ming Fan plucked the pendant from Ning Yingying's hand, disgust in his tone. I'm afraid giving it to Shimei would dirty her hands. So he said, but he had not the slightest intention of returning it. Luo Binghe's face was tight. Suddenly, he struck out with both fists, hitting the couple of low-ranked disciples restraining him. Enraged as he was, his blows were not directed by technique. They were random strikes fueled by the anger within. At first, he managed to cow these low-ranked disciples, but they quickly realized that he was in truth incredibly weak, and that his only demeanor was impressive. Only his demeanor was impressive. Also, Ming Fan was snarling at them. What are you standing there for? He dared to attack his Shishong. Teach him what it means to respect seniority. At this, they all regained their courage and surrounded Luo Binghe, clobbering him. Ning Yingying was scared stiff, her pitiful brain capacity still not understanding how things progressed to this state. Pitiful brain capacity. What a burn. Shishong, she cried. How could you do this? Hurry up and tell them to stop, or I'll never talk to you ever again. Shimei, don't be angry, Ming Fan said in a panic. I'll tell them to stop hitting the guy, okay? He was distracted. Before he finished speaking, Luo Binghe broke free from the many arms and legs entangling him and sent his fist into Ming Fan's nose. A wild wail. 2 twin streams of fresh blood jetted from Ming Fan's nostrils. Although she had been about to burst into tears, at the sight of this, Ning Yingying couldn't help but let out a stifled laugh. Sister, really, do you like Luo Binghe, or do you want to screw him over? Shen Qingqiu howled in his mind. Before this point, Ming Fan might feasibly have let Luo Binghe go, but now that he'd been humiliated in front of his crush, he couldn't back down, no matter what. The two boys twisted into a fighting heap, but no matter how exceptional Luo Binghe's talent, he was still young, and he hadn't been cultivating with proper instruction. It was, for the most part, a one-sided beatdown. Yet Luo Binghe remained silent, teeth clenched. Shen Qingqiu wanted to desperately intervene, but the system exploded with a terrifying cascade of alarms. Severe OOC! Severe OOC! Important things must be repeated 3 times. In this situation, Shen Qingqiu would choose to smile. He would watch from the sidelines, hands in his sleeves, or personally beat Luo Binghe himself. Was it really going to make him look on while the child was being abused? This really was too much. Even so, Shen Qingqiu couldn't afford to take risks. While he was anxiously fretting, a compromise suddenly came to him. Changchong Mountain sect had a minor technique, plucking leaves, flying flowers. At a glance, it wasn't very useful, just aesthetic and interesting. The novel had described how Luo Binghe used the technique to win the 9th women's affections, as Shen Qingqiu had, since his arrival, been furiously reviewing various manuals. He had also recently seen a description of it. He plucked a nearby leaf and channeled a touch of spiritual power into it. The first time, he channeled too much. The leaf couldn't withstand the power and instantly split into several pieces. He succeeded the second time, held the leaf between his fingertips, and gently blew, letting go. The leaf shot towards Ming Fan like an airborne knife. As Ming Fan's long and horrible scream split the air, Shen Qingqiu shook out his hands and wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead. No wonder they said that, to an expert, even a flower or a tree could be used to hurt people, but he hadn't killed Ming Fan just now, right? Sounds like the title of an AO3 fic. Yeah, airplane can't name for shit. We love a few leaf techniques. Luo Binghe had suffered quite a few punches and kicks, but suddenly it was Ming Fan who staggered backwards. Luo Binghe looked up. Fresh blood dripped from his forehead past his eyes, but he hadn't expected to see Ming Fan stretching out his own hand, his palm also covered in blood. Ming Fan stared in disbelief. You dare to use a knife? Due to its fierceness, Ning Yingying hadn't risked coming close to their fight, but now she hurried to throw herself between the two. No, Aluo didn't use a knife. It wasn't him. Luo Binghe also had no idea what had happened. He closed his mouth tightly and tried to clean the blood from his face. Did you see clearly? Was he holding a knife? Ming Fan interrogated the other disciples as blood seeped out of his back, like he'd been cut with the edge of a sword. The disciples looked around at each other in complete disarray, some shaking their heads, some nodding. Ming Fan was a spoiled and pampered young master, and he had never suffered this level of physical pain. The sight of his own hand covered with blood sent panic surging through his heart. The puzzling thing was that there were no evidence of a weapon either on the ground or on Luo Binghe's slender person. It couldn't have vanished into thin air, right? Shen Jingzhou held his breath. His vision suddenly flashed red, and a huge line of floating text popped up before him in a blood-red, as eye-catching as it was bone-chilling. Violation. OOC. B points. -10. Current B points, 90. Shen Jingzhou released his breath, relieved. He'd been prepared for a deduction of the realm of 50, or even to lose everything. Only 10 was much better than he thought. He'd taken the loss for now. There would be future chances to earn those points back. Then, shortly after he let out that breath, Ming Fan pointed to Luo Binghe and yelled, "Get him!" Shen Jingzhou nearly vomited a mouthful of blood straight from his chest. The gang of disciples heard the order and tackled Luo Binghe. Shen Jingzhou unconsciously tore off a nearby handful of leaves and sent them all singeing through the air. He regretted it as soon as they left his hand. The fuck am I doing? No matter what happens, Luo Binghe is the magnificent male lead. It's not like he's never been ganged up on before. Like they could beat him to death. Like hell you need to worry, self. He might have gotten away with the first interference, but now? Fantastic. Even an idiot wouldn't notice something was off. Numerous disciples were splattered with blood. They anxiously gathered around Ming Fan, no longer daring to gang up on Luo Binghe. "Shishong, what's going on? Shishong, I've been cut!" Ming Fan's face was green and white. Only after a moment did he yell out, "Go!" Leading his group of lackeys, all covering their backs and howling in their arms, he frantically withdrew. It truly came like the wind and left like it too. Aw, he couldn't bear the sight of Binghe getting hurt. Mostly to protect himself. Thank you, little guy. Chronic anxiety Shenyuan canon. Stop worrying. Me? Self? Only Ning Yingying remained, standing there dumbly for a while. The descriptions for her are so rude. Then she shouted, "Luo, were you the one who sent them running just now?" Luo Binghe shook his head, expression gloomy. He stood up, straightening with difficulty. Then he bent down again with a tense look, searching the ground for something, turning over fallen leaves, dry twigs, and mud this way and that, over and over again. Shen Jingzhou knew what he was looking for. Naturally, it was the jade pendant, which had been lost in the confusion. He saw it clear as day. Before fighting, Ming Fan had swung out his arm. As he did, the pendant's red string had snagged on a branch high above their heads, but Shen Jingzhou couldn't point that out. Also, just after he'd sent the leaves flying, he'd heard the heart-shattering system scream, "Violation! OOC! B points! -10 times 6! Current B points 30!" In an instant, he'd fallen below a passing grade. So 1 leaf equals 10 points? Don't use such simple, crude arithmetic. Ning Yingying didn't dare speak. After all, she had caused this entire affair. If not for her big mouth, Luo Binghe would never have suffered a beating. And on top of that, he'd lost his pendant for no good reason. She swiftly began to help Luo Binghe search. They of course remained empty-handed, even as it became dark. Luo Binghe stood dumbly in place, staring at the mess of ground. They had overturned every speck of dirt in sight, but they still hadn't found it. "Luo, if we can't find it, let's just let it be," said Ning Yingying, a little frightened to see him so dazed and out of his mind. She shook his hand. "I'm sorry. I'll buy you another one later, all right?" Luo Binghe paid her no heed. He slowly withdrew his hand and walked towards the forest edge, head lowered. Ning Yingying hurried after him. Shen Jingzhou was truly impressed with himself. These two children had searched for an entire afternoon, and he'd actually gone and watched the whole time. How could he explain that to himself, other than to say he had too much fucking time on his hands? He waited until they'd gone a good distance, then finally emerged from his hiding place. He raised his head and looked about, then tapped his foot on the ground. In that moment, he experienced what it meant to have a body as light as a swallow, and with great ease, he rose and plucked that jade pendant from where it was caught on the branch. In truth, Shen Jingzhou wanted to secretly return it to Luo Binghe, but he was now familiar with the system's rules. That definitely would count as a violation. He didn't have any B points to squander. After some thought, Shen Jingzhou decided to keep it for the time being. Ooh, I wonder when he's gonna give it back to him. Maybe later, this jade pendant would be of great use. For example, perhaps during a critical moment when his fate hung by a thread, he could bargain it in exchange for his life. Shen Jingzhou gave this possibility serious consideration. Right then, a line of green text with pronounced 3D effect jumped into view. "Congratulations, obtained key item, fake jade guanyin ×1. For changing the storyline, Shen Jingzhou IQ +100. Current B points, 130. Please continue to work hard. Ooh! All the points that had just been deducted were not only restored, he got even more. On top of that, given the influence this Jade Guanyin had on Luo Binghe, it was definitely a high-level item, and it could be used to preserve his life. What a happy surprise! A rush of satisfaction flowed through Shen Jingqiu, cleansing him of the gloom that had set in while he crouched in the dark for a whole afternoon. At this moment, even the system's eminently punchable Google Translate-like voice was melodious beyond compare. Meanwhile, outside the forest, Luo Binghe had already left the back of the mountain, and he slowly unclenched his fist. Lying in his palm was a whole green leaf. Its edges were sharp and stained with blood. Ooh. Is he gonna be suspicious now? Does Shen Jingqiu ever tell Luo Binghe that he is a transmigrated person? In the days of Shen Jingqiu's recuperation following his awakening from the inexplicable fever, Yue Qingye came to visit him many times. As the sect leader of the world's foremost major cultivation sect, which might be likened to being the principal of a comprehensive cultivation university, his workload had to be heavy. Yet he was still so considerate to his shidi. As a stranger in a strange land, Shen Jingqiu practically wanted to shed tears of gratitude. That the original flavor had actually turned on such a kind and superior and fellow disciple that he had breached out of their brotherly covenant just like that, it just made clear how much of a scumbag he was. Now that Shidi had rested for several days, has your health improved? Yue Qingye asked, his eyes full of earnest concern as he held one of the bamboo house's porcelain tea bowls. I think Yue Qingye has the hots for Shen Jingqiu. I have long since recovered, Shen Jingqiu, lightly waving his folding fan and feeling at home in the atmosphere of brotherly love. Oh my fucking god. He's like, I feel so natural when men are fawning over me. I feel at home here. I've caused Xishang much trouble, making him worry. Then I suppose it's about time for Shidi to leave the mountain, said Yue Qingye. Is there anything you need? The hand Shen Jingqiu was using to fan himself froze. Leave the mountain? Did the illness make you forget? Yue Qingye asked, surprised. Didn't you tell me before to leave the matter of Shangu City to you as training opportunity for your disciples? So it was some troublesome project undertaken by the original flavor, but when Shen Jingqiu had been familiarizing himself with this body's spiritual power and techniques, they still weren't second nature. How could he take disciples down for the mountain for training? Just as he was about to summon his resolve and embarrass himself, to renegade and say that his body wasn't well after all, the system's unfeeling voice reverberated in his skull. Beginner level quest issued. Location, Shangu City. Quest, complete the training. Please click to accept. At the same time, the quest synopsis popped up before him with two options on the bottom, the left saying accept, the right saying reject. So this was a beginner level quest. Shen Jingqiu's gaze lingered on accept for a while. The option blinked green, a ding sounded, and the system said, Quest successfully accepted. Please thoroughly read the provided files and make your preparations. We wish you a swift success. Shen Jingqiu came back to himself. Naturally, I remember, he said, while smiling. It's just these days I've rested too much and grown slow. I had almost forgotten about this matter. I'll head out in a few days. Yue Qingye nodded. If you're not completely recovered, there's no need to force yourself. There's no rush to train your disciples either. You especially don't need to personally take care of this matter. Shen Jingqiu agreed, still smiling, but he couldn't help giving Yue Qingye two extra glances. Jiangmen Xishang, your current role, it's getting a bit too much like a quest-giving NPC. All affairs on Xingjing Peak, whether large or small, were handed to and looked after by Shen Jingqiu's trusted subordinate, Ming Fan. Shen Jingqiu had discovered that in matters that didn't involve a certain protagonist, Ming Fan was surprisingly efficient and intelligent. They were able to set out the following day. Before leaving Xingjing Peak, Shen Jingqiu briefly inspected his appearance. Teal robes, loose sash, sword at the left hip, fan in the right hand. Elegant, cultured, reliable, graceful. A properly otherworldly being. He's so gay. Oh my god. Also, is the Qing in Shen Jingqiu the same Qing that's in Shi Qingxuan that is like the word for teal? I don't know much Chinese, but I know that. Dazai, is this a surprise? We're currently on page 50. In short, absolutely not OOC. Perfect. He's like, I'm so good at styling myself. At the bottom of the long 100-step stone stairway, waiting by the mountain gates, was the carriage prepared for Shen Qingqiu, as well as a collection of horses for his accompanying disciples. Are you kidding me? Shen Qingqiu muttered in his head. In the end, this is still a cultivation setting. Why aren't we flying on swords? Even in a magical setting like Harry Potter, not every wizard goes out riding brooms. The system coolly replied. It would be too conspicuous. You sure are knowledgeable, Shen Qingqiu muttered. Did you do business over at Harry Potter's before? Oh my god, that's so funny. The system typed out a giant line of hovering symbols. ... Oh my god! That's so funny. In all these years of the system's operation, Shen Qingqiu might have been the first person bored enough to act so familiarly with it, let alone to fuck around with it. On the other hand, if he thought about it, this setup made sense. This trip down the mountain was for the sake of training, and the majority of these disciples were young and lacked experience. They hadn't even claimed their personal swords yet. According to the traditions of Zhengjiang Mountain sect, only once the disciples' cultivation reached a certain stage could they go to Wanjian Peak, one of the 12 peaks, to pick a suitable blade. Though it was said that the person picked the sword, in truth the sword also picked the person. If a person with subpar talent insisted on taking a top-class sword capable of condensing spiritual energy collected from the heavens and earth, it would be the equivalent of a beautiful woman marrying an ugly man, or arranging a fresh flowers in cow dung. As you can imagine, the sword would be entirely unwilling. Luo Binghe's real golden finger only activated when he came upon his own personal sword, the mystical Shin Mo. Shen Qingqiu entered the carriage. Its appearance wasn't especially ornate, but the interior was both spacious and comfortable, and a small incense burner faintly smoldered within. Once he sat, Shen Qingqiu had a sudden premonition that something wasn't right. He abruptly poked out his fan and raised it to lift the curtains. The second he looked outside, he felt he should have been struck blind by the sight. No wonder he'd thought that the silhouette hurrying back and forth around the carriage seemed familiar. The person everyone was ordering around to do miscellaneous tasks was none other than the great male lead, Luo Binghe. Just then, Luo Binghe hauled the last item onto the carriage, a white jade chessboard that was mandatory luggage on all of Shen Qingqiu's trips, though it usually went unused. Kenzie asks, can Shen Qingqiu do a kickflip on his sword? That is the question of the evening. I think he can. He raised his head to see Shen Qingqiu observing him with a complicated expression and jolted slightly. Respectfully, he said, Shizen. The injuries Luo Binghe had received from Shen Qingqiu's pre-fever discipline were just about healed. The bruises on his face had vanished, and one could finally clearly see what he looked like. Even though he was young, his features still soft and immature, no degree of youth could conceal the handsome grace within him. On top of that, he walked and moved with a shining air. Who would ever guess that this was Qingjing's peak most miserable flower bud, which had been ravaged by wind and rain for many years? Aww. Although Luo Binghe was doing the rough work of moving luggage and equipment, his aptitude was meticulous. It was hard not to be moved by that earnest and focused bearing. It was especially hard for Shen Qingqiu, who already had some fondness for this male lead. It was indeed very fond of this ruthlessly decisive protagonist, who was so clear-cut with who deserved his kindness and who he hated. He's got it bad. After staring for a moment, Shen Qingqiu made an "oh" sound, then pulled back his fan, dropping the curtains. It had to be said, the male lead was inescapably the male lead. Even with how downtrodden this kid was, with no history, no prospects, no parents to love him, it was no wonder that there were still so many first, second, third, and fourth female leads ready to hang off his every word, trail in his wake, and otherwise throw themselves at him. He's like, I just understand how women would be interested in him. Me, as a man, I'm just really relating to women right now. This also explained why there was always some cannon fodder or another who found him an eyesore and who wanted to vent by beating him until his head looked like a pig's. Then something else occurred to Shen Qingqiu. That's not right. If the total number of traveling disciples included Luo Binghe was 10, and there were only 9 horses, then weren't they missing one? Alright, even if he'd thought with his toes, he'd have known who was to blame. As expected, Ming Fan's gleeful voice cut through the snickering outside. Actually, we're short on horses, so we have no choice but to inconvenience Shidi this time. Although, since Shidi's foundation is poor, it's perfect. You can also take this chance to train. Short on horses, my ass. In recent years, all of the major sects, Qingchong Mountain sect had become #1 when it came to cultivation. It had no real business rivals. That it was overflowing with wealth could be left unsaid. In short, like they'd want for even a single horse. What? Ming Fan paused, truly well-versed in digging his own cannon fodder grave. What sort of expression is that? You dissatisfied? I wouldn't dare, said Luo Binghe evenly, neither haughty nor humble. At this point, a young girl's bell-like laugh cut the air. Ning Yingying had arrived. Xishang, what are you two talking about? Shen Qingqiu held his forehead. Really, young lady, your timing. Ning Yingying was a powerful catalyst in the continued worsening of Ming Fan and Luo Binghe's relationship. Whenever she appeared, Luo Binghe was in for no shortage of suffering, and Ming Fan was in for an equal amount of personal grave digging. Once again, Shen Qingqiu tentatively lifted the carriage curtains a little, discerning over whether he should speak. As expected, he beheld Ning Yingying excitedly waving her hand. Luo, not enough horses, come ride with me! She really does bring a lot of hatred down on Luo Binghe. So, it is known, although this type of plot, wherein the downtrodden protagonist receives special attention from a beauty, is a satisfying trope often seen on Zhongdian literature, it is also the likeliest to incite the envy of others and subsequent persecution. In this moment, if Luo Binghe accepted Ning Yingying's suggestion, he could forget about getting any peace on this trip. Shen Qingqiu could no longer sit and bear it. Yingying, don't make a fuss. Men and women mustn't be too intimate. No matter how close you are with your Shidi, there ought to be limits. Ming Fan, we're dawdling. Why haven't we set out yet? If you share a horse, you will get pregnant and die. Ming Fan was overjoyed, no doubt thinking, Shizen and I are on the same page. He hastily urged the group to depart. Ning Yingying pouted but said nothing. That little skit over for now, Shen Qingqiu let his mind wander from it and returned to silently reading files spread out on his system deck. This trip wasn't so to commemorate the first plotline to take him down the mountain. It was, most importantly, concerned with a beginner-level quest that would determine whether he could unfreeze the OOC function. Shen Qingqiu couldn't afford to treat it with anything but the utmost seriousness. The file described the location, a small city several tens of kilometers away from Qingchong Mountain. Recently, a number of murders had occurred within it. Already, 9 people were dead. Every victim shared a common fate. The skin on their body had been completely meticulously peeled off from head to toe, and with perfect precision, as if the skin had never been attached to the deceased body at all. Ew. What the fuck? Poor Snowcrest. Yes, from QJJ. Oh my god. It was enough to horrify anyone. Therefore, the murderer had come to be known as the Skinner Demon. The Skinner Demon's chosen victims were all young, beautiful women. Therefore, in Shangu City, every family with daughters, wives, or concubines shut and locked their doors the moment the night fell. Despite this, they had been unable to stop the Skinner Demon from coming and going as it pleased. A succession of 9 horrible deaths, yet the officials had no idea what to do. The city's people were in a state of panic. There were even rumors that it was the work of a ghost. Otherwise, how could the culprit come and go without a trace? Several influential families had met together and at last decided to send someone to Qingchong Mountain Sect to plead for assistance from the immortal cultivators. Shen Qingqiu had already read this information multiple times, but no matter how many times he read it, it wasn't the least bit helpful. The hell is a Skinner Demon? Never heard of it. Is this a newly added plotline or a hidden one? Is it dangerous? Is it strong? Am I even going to be able to deal with it? This isn't what we agreed to. In response to these questions, the system said, What? What isn't? You were once a novel reader. Novels are a type of artistic creation, and in any artistic creation, there are always decisions that must be made and things that must be left out. Now that you've become part of this world, you naturally have to experience everything yourself. Regardless of importance, you must follow every plotline to the very end, even ones omitted from the original work. Shen Qingqiu had no way to no say in any of it. As such, he had diligently trained for numerous days, single-mindedly seeking to make his abilities second nature, lest he croak at the hands of some no-name monster before he even had the chance to die beneath the male lead's feet like a general passing away before his first victory. Luo Binghe was still outside, so at no moment did Shen Jingqiu dare to relax his vigil, keeping an eye out for any untoward activity. Shen Jingqiu's like, at least let me die by his hand. At the same time, he rummaged through the carriage interior. Every comfort one could imagine was on hand. Shen Jingqiu managed to dredge up 5 or 6 different tea sets as he was speechless at the sight of them. No matter that in his past life he could have counted as a wealthy second gen, he still hadn't been this pointlessly indulgent in his pursuit of first world affluenza, okay? At this time, a wave of cackles rolled from the outside carriage. He swept a glance outside. Luo Binghe trailed alone at the back of the group, at times walking, at times running. From time to time, horses encircled him, purposely kicking up a cloud of dust until he was filthy and caked with it. Oh. Shen Jingqiu couldn't help clutching the handle of his fan, knuckles itching faintly. This was only a book, and all the people were constructs, imaginary characters. Logically, Shen Jingqiu was very clear on this fact, but when a character was actually being taunted and bullied right before his eyes, it was just flat out unrealistic to expect him to be completely unmoved. He's an empath. Having attempted to dissuade them several times to no avail, Ning Yingying finally realized her interference would only make things worse. She anxiously urged her horse towards the carriage and called out, "Shizhen, the Shizong, look at them!" "What about them?" Shen Jingqiu asked placidly. Though his heart was moved, he didn't show it. "They're bullying someone so viciously, yet you're not telling them off," she said defiantly, her voice carrying with the strength of her indignation. "If they keep on like this, Shizhen, what are you teaching your disciples to become?" Even though she was directly tattling on them, Ming Fan and his lackeys didn't feel any pressure at all. They were all used to the prior Shen Jingqiu silently permitting these actions. The harsher their bullying of Luo Binghe, the happier they made their teacher. Why would they exercise restraint? Ming Fan was happiest of all. He was so sure that on the day at the back of the mountain, Luo Binghe had used some manner of sorcery he'd learned from who knew where. Today, Shizhen was here, and he'd be crushed. Shen Jingqiu made an "oh" sound. Then he spoke a single line. "Luo Binghe, come here." Luo Binghe's expression went blank. Accustomed to this call, he gave a quiet assent and walked over. At first, everyone was still riding high on Schadenfreude, thinking that Shen Jingqiu was calling Luo Binghe over to grab him by the ear and discipline him. What happened next shattered their entire worldview. Shen Jingqiu used his fan to lift the curtains, then jerked his chin at Luo Binghe before shooting a glance at the carriage interior. And even though he didn't speak, the meaning couldn't have been clearer. "Allo, hurry and get on," Ning Yingying said happily. "Shizhen is letting you ride with him." The last time he will ride with him, and later, Shizhen will ride you. Like thunder on a clear day. If they hadn't known their masters so well and for so long, Ming Fan and his fellows would have suspected that Shen Jingqiu had been possessed by a demon. Luo Binghe had also frozen in astonishment, but his reaction was nevertheless swift. He paused for only a second before saying, "Many thanks to Shizhen." Then he stepped into the carriage, ever conscientious, and sat straight-backed in a corner. His hands and feet remained tucked in, like he was afraid that his patched clothes would dirty the interior. "Warning. Warning rejected," said Shen Jingqiu. "I wasn't OOC." Shen Jingqiu would never do anything to alleviate Luo Binghe's troubles. Verdict, OOC level 100%. "Have you carefully examined the character's complicated inner world?" Shen Jingqiu countered. "Of course he would never do anything purely to alleviate Luo Binghe's troubles, but right now, my goal is to prevent Ning Yingying from losing faith in me as her teacher. Yingying is my dearest little disciple, and she begged me. How could I let her plea go unheard? ... So my actions are completely in line with Shen Jingqiu's internal logic," Shen Jingqiu declared. "Your warning is invalid." During their exchange over the last couple of days, Shen Jingqiu had gradually figured out a handful of the system's quirks. It had rules, but these rules were not rigid. As that was the case, there was a bit of leeway for bargaining. As he'd hoped, for the time being, the system couldn't think of an argument to enforce its deduction. Riding high on the delight of victory in his first battle, Shen Jingqiu couldn't help but laugh. However, Shen Jingqiu had in that moment been quietly sitting in the carriage, seemingly meditating with his eyes closed in a trance. When Luo Binghe suddenly heard him laugh, he couldn't resist stealing a glance at him. To tell the truth, it would have been a lie to say that Luo Binghe wasn't surprised. Even though he'd always revered Shen Qingqiu, he had no illusions about how his master treated and looked at him. At first, he thought that if Shen Qingqiu had asked him to get in the carriage, there must be something even more terrible waiting for him within, and he had mentally prepared himself for it. He hadn't expected Shen Qingqiu to not bother with him at all, and instead focusing only on himself as he began to meditate. Luo Binghe thought for a moment. It seemed to him that he had never been this close to his teacher before, and that he had never had an opportunity to carefully examine Shen Qingqiu like this. Appearance-wise, you couldn't complain about him. Perhaps Shen Qingqiu couldn't qualify as a supremely beautiful, but he was certainly good-looking, and you wouldn't tire of looking at him. This is Binghe being a little gay now. The profile of his face and his three-quarter view seemed to have been carved by creeks and mountain springs, and when not fixed in a cold scowl, it became gentle and bright. As soon as Shen Qingqiu opened his eyes, he found Luo Binghe staring at him. He saw a glimpse of the future Luo Binghe's unique grace, of that eyes of cold stars, soft and radiant smile with muted words and quiet laughter. It's like he showed him an inch of kindness, and Luo Binghe's like, I could have a crush on you. Luo Binghe had been caught red-handed, as right as he was struck, lost at what to do. Shen Qingqiu smiled at him. Oh, look at this picture. He got caught being gay for the first time. This smile was purely unconscious, but Luo Binghe felt like he'd been pricked by a small, fine thorn. He quickly averted his gaze and became increasingly awkward, unsure of what he was feeling. Very soon, Shen Qingqiu couldn't bring himself to smile anymore. The system had delivered a notification. Violation, OOC, B points, -5, current B points, 165. Saith Shen Qingqiu, even a brief smile warrants a deduction. Saith the system most righteously, OOC is OOC. Oh my god. And that was chapter 1. Damn, that was good. Oh my gosh, little Bing Bing. It's so sad to think that it took so little for him to have a gay awakening like that. Yi says, you finally finished chapter 1. I did. Oh, the poor boy. And this is obvious, but like, there's so many more rich details in the book than in the Donghua. Jessica says, thank you for the story time, Mother. I'm so glad you liked it. I really liked it. I'm really enjoying this. I think Shen Qingqiu bickering with the system is really funny. That line about Harry Potter, that was so funny. Like, is there a world in which the system exists with Harry Potter? And also, the prose feels very casual with Shen Qingqiu's thoughts. Like, it really feels like you're in his head when sometimes it says like, okay, like that's kind of interesting when you're reading. And also you get to hear inside Binghe's head too. So I wasn't expecting that. That's very, very, very good. Kate, thank you for your donation. Kate says you have some art whips in your DMs for after stream. Oh, thank you. I want to see. Is it Shi Qingxuan? Qing? Get it? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It is not safe for work Danmei boy on his back. I'll just say that much. Oh my god, Kate, your art is incredible. And Miss Rosie, thank you for your donation, Miss Rosie. Oh my goodness, you are so kind, Miss Rosie. I really appreciate it. You did it. I did. Soon we will have the Scum Villain character audiobook. Yes, I'm going to keep reading this. This will be a weekly Scum Villain Sunday stream. Do you plan to read more on live? Yeah, we're going to be reading Scum Villain together, folks. At least this kid doesn't have to wait 800 years. Let's go! Let's fucking go! Kate says there are 2 whips. Oh my god! And Hua Cheng. Oh my god! Hua Cheng on his back. Oh my goodness, Kate, your art's incredible! Oh my goodness. Thank you for sending those. We got kicked to reading Scum Villain before season 2. Yeah, oh my gosh. Ren, thank you for joining my membership. Welcome to the Kickflip community. I really appreciate that. Spark Major, thank you for your donation. And says, yay for Scum Days. Oh my gosh. Yes, Scum Days. That's so funny. Yi says, I'm so glad I bought Luo Binghe. Yes, Yi bought a meme shirt on from my merch that it's Luo Binghe, but it's Luo Binghe and it's on an Italian flag and he's eating pasta. Jessica says, hopefully I can keep coming to the streams. I'll be good for 3 weeks, but after that I have work. If nothing is happening though, I may be able to passively listen while working. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I hope that you can come and listen to them. Also, the lives they'll stay up as videos, so you can listen afterwards. Oh, what's the box count for Stitch? Oh, let me go check. I'll BRB. Oh my god. Oh my god. Babe? Our entire living room is just boxes. I can't even freaking find her. There are 10 big boxes done and like so many other of the small boxes, and our den made bookshelf is gone. Moto ASMR, thank you so much for your donation. Gratitude for doing over an hour of reading when your throat is probably sore. What a queen. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, my throat feels a little sore now just from talking for so long. But I'm over my sickness, when I did have a sore throat. But unfortunately, I do have a little bit of phlegm, so I really apologize for having to clear my throat. I know that's fucking gross, but there's like a little phlegm every now and then. Oh, Stitch, wait, what did you say? Can I get a 6 balls in the chat for 6 boxes? Oh my god. Also, Stitch, stop trying to donate! 6 balls in the chat. 6 balls in the chat. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Stitch already did 10 giant boxes, so in total she's done 16, but I guess she did 6 while I was reading. That's crazy. Abby, thank you so much for your donation, Abby. I'm so happy. Please read the rest of the book. I will. We'll be reading it all together. Scum Days. Oh, Kenzie, thank you so much for your donation, Kenzie. This really helped with the Sunday scaries and also my anxiety for my event next week. I did set up the table today and I'm anxious. Oh, Kenzie, you're gonna kill it. It's gonna be awesome. You got nothing to worry about. And you will slay, Kenzie. I believe in you. Also, yes, Abby, thank you so much for your donation, and Moto ASMR, thank you so much for your donation. Carly says, I really needed this stream tonight. I've been stressed about school and this has completely gotten my mind off it. Oh, I'm so glad. A Stitch! 6 box, maybe all the boxes by the time we finish Scumville and LOL. Oh my god. Thank you so much, Stitch. I'll give you a big kiss for that. Oh, the one and only B. Thank you so much. Money for you because you're finally reading Scum Villain, and also because it's my birthday tomorrow. Oh my goodness, happy birthday tomorrow. This stream was perfect timing, honestly. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done a stream on a Sunday before, but I'm glad so many of you were able to come. I will also be streaming tomorrow. I'll be streaming more of A Date with Death. And yeah, I'm hoping to do Sunday, Scum Villain, Monday, Date with Death, and then Fridays, members only game nights. I'm trying to figure out the best way to be doing this stuff while we're moving, so I think you guys might have to say goodbye to this beautiful wall, because I think this is the last video where all of this will be behind me. The next videos I will just be in a white room. It's not even white, the walls are like kind of brown. But it will be so depressing. Oh, 07. Not the wall. I know. We're not moving far. We're still even within the same city. So I don't even need to change my fan mail address or anything like that. Leave the Danmei up and take a picture of the house like that so people truly know how much this house is worth. Right? My dad even was like, the house looks better with Stitch's like big Ghibli wall up. Stitch is so good at decorating. Stitch says, I wanted to come in and start sneaking things away while you were streaming. Maybe tomorrow. Oh god. Stitch is really good at packing. Sometimes it's easier to let someone else pack things for you because I think I could really be a hoarder. I could definitely be a hoarder. And even just seeing things go in the boxes is like kind of upsetting for me. Because I really like even all my stuffed animals and like all my little figurines, like they really have so much like emotion and like I really see them as like real things. So putting them away and sucks. So kind of just like Stitch handling those things helped a lot. She's the best. Pepper, thank you for your donation. Sunday Scum Day. Yes. Girl, you are a maximalist. I know, Stitch is so funny. Like, Stitch was putting away a bunch of the decor and was like, we have too much stuff. We have too much stuff. And I'm like, girl, you are not becoming a minimalist on me. Will you be live around the same time next week? I think so. I am going to try and post on my like community, in like the YouTube community, like Saturdays I'll post the stream schedule. And so I'm hoping that next week we can keep it the same because it's fun. I really like streaming. Kickter, have you seen any of the skins and stuff? Yes, I have, where people draw Scum Villain characters as like the hairless cats and stuff. And mayhaps after we finish A Date with Death. Oh, what were you asking? Oh, to do Genshin? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, once we move into our new house, I mean, I could even do another day of the week to do streaming Genshin or something like that. That would be fun. Kate says Skinsin is what got me into Scum Villain. Yi says, I can carry you in Genshin co-op. Okay, sick. Genshin is so long now. Oh my god. No, that will be really fun. Yeah, once we do A Date with Death, I guess Genshin could just replace that. Who do you main? Oh, yeah. Kenzie, I have seen some, you know what's so funny? I saw you posted a selfie on your story the other day and I was looking at like one of your K-pop shrines and I was like, oh my god, this is like really nice. Like it's really nicely laid out. Like, I don't know why I imagined like because because you told me you had like a wall. I imagine like a big clutter collage, but it was like very, very nicely laid out. I was like, interior design, King, Kenzie. Oh, Spark Major is drawing Binghe. I really like your art, Spark Major. You should play Honkai Star Rail. Oh my goodness. Do people play Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, or do you kind of have to pick between one? Spark Major says, kicked her, my love. Aww. Yeah, they're made by the same company. Yes. Howard Wang is in Honkai Star Rail, I think. Yeah, I think he voices someone. Kenzie, do they sell light sticks at the concerts, or do most people buy the light sticks beforehand? Quinn, thank you so much for your donation, Quinn. Someone needs to make Stitch in a box art. Stitch accidentally boxing herself up. Honkai Star Rail has Ken and Old Man Yaoi. You would love it. I do love Old Man Yaoi against my will. Like Zondads from Arcane, Silco and Vander, I ship them so hard. Like I don't imagine anything like not safe for work between them. But I just love their love. Kenzie says they do sell light sticks at the concert, but many buy them ahead of the time. Okay. You know, Kenzie, I was thinking about you earlier because a BTS song came on my Spotify. Like, I love doing Spotify like smart shuffle where it suggests new songs to you. And I was like, I haven't heard this song. Is this a new song? Like, is BTS making new music together? It was a very old song. I just hadn't heard it. But BTS they haven't, like, I know individually they've been releasing music, but they haven't released anything together recently, right? Samantha, thank you so much for joining my membership, Samantha. Welcome. We love Yanshan. Yes, that is some good Old Man Yaoi. Wuthering Waves is Genshin's competitor. Both are good, but Wu Wa is newer and still working out some kinks. Oh, I've heard of that, but I don't know what it looks like or anything. Yan Wuxi has a big personality and an even bigger cleavage. Gray Sky says Zondads is so based. Thank you. You are talking to the right BTS army wife. Which song was it? Where the hell did my phone go? Oh. The song was... Paradise. It makes sense that you like Old Man Yaoi, since that's basically TGCF. Hey, they are in younger bodies. Have you heard of 17? Yes, I like 17's music. Ooh, Dazai says, this stream was lovely to write my angst fic to. Ooh, very nice. Also, do you guys like my haircut? Stitch cut my hair today. I feel like every time my undercut grows out, I'm like, I could pull off a mullet. And then yesterday, I saw Nosferatu yesterday, by the way, if anyone else had seen it. There was a mirror in the bathroom. It was like a corner mirror, and I saw like the side of my head, and I was like, oh God, give me an undercut. Stitch and I have saved so much money on haircuts over the last 2 years. We have not, I mean 2 years, probably 1 year now. We have not gone to a hair salon. We just cut each other's hair. Thinning shears and whatever this is called. Razor? Bzzz, what is that called? Trimmer? Thank you, Esper Lady. And Sumo. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Oh, Kenzie, I love Mic Drop and Idol. I loved playing I had the BTS pack for Lightsaber? No, not Lightsaber. What's that music game with the Beat Saber? That was so much fun, and I was good at it. Apple Dash says, I want to see Stitch playing Infinity Nikki. Wouldn't that be good? Stitch doing an Infinity Nikki stream? I think that would be great. Oh, Kenzie sent some pictures of her shrine. Oh my god, that is a bedazzled light stick. Oh my god, that looks so nice with Shalian's hat. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Girl, your desk looks like mine. I have so much stuff all over my desk. Kictor, have you heard Stray Kids? Oh, I certainly have heard Stray Kids. I like Stray Kids a lot. Spark Major says, in 10 minutes I'll send you what I'm working on. Oh, okay. Very excited. Ellery! Hey, Ellery! I didn't miss the whole stream over D&D. Yay! Welcome, Ellery! I'm so glad you're here. And thank you so much for your donation. Ocean Campbell says, have you watched Dead Boy Detectives? I haven't. Have you heard of Kim Woojin? No, I haven't. I have heard of ATs, though. TGCF Idol AU. Stitch and I roleplayed TGCF Idol AU like years ago. You saw BTS? Oh my god, that's incredible. I have the K-pop bands I've seen. I saw SHINee twice and I saw Super M. I love Taemin, so I've seen Taemin 3 times. Oh, Sugar Kiss. Oh my god, that's so cute! Doing a Polaroid series. My first Polaroid, and Gaga signed it. That's so cute. Sugar Kiss, that's really, really cute. I love that. Miss Rosie sending another donation. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Miss Rosie. Starting at a new work location tomorrow. Can I get any good waves? Oh, absolutely. I'll send you all the good waves. You got this. I worked over 8 years at the old place and have heard meh things about the new one. Oh, well, I'm sure it will be great for you. I'm sure it will be awesome. I'll send you all the good waves. And I'm sure you'll have a great day. Maybe it was meh, but that was before you were there. AT's nuts. Oh no, Lizzie, what is the new diagram? Kictor, need more money for a bubble wrap? I mean, we always need money for bubble wrap, honestly. I think we're probably gonna be running out of bubble wrap for all the little figures in here. Emma says, how many editions of TGCF do you currently have? I might have to get you more for your collection. Oh my gosh. I have... My favorite ones are the Taiwanese ones, because that was like the original ones I ever got. I have those. I have the original. I have the hardcover. And then you got me the Russian ones, which have the amazing art. And you also got me the French ones. And the German ones, I think. Probably fresher in Stitch's mind since she just packed everything away. Guy! Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Guy. Oh my goodness. You're so kind. I just like how the Taiwanese covers looked. And we're so lucky that we ended up getting those covers for the English edition. I think they look cool. Jessica says, sad I'm in Australia. I have so much bubble wrap that I can't bring myself to throw out from my shopping addiction. Thank you so much, Guy, for your donation. I appreciate that. You saw Super M? Oh, nice! That's awesome. Oh, you get a metric ton of bubble wrap from your Manus. Ooh. The debate is on a flowchart. We're going to make a flowchart. Oh my god, your mom's going to see Rascal Flatts. I was a huge Rascal Flatts fan back in the day because I loved the movie Cars, and they did the remake of the song Life is a Highway. And that was like the only music I had on my MP3 player back in the day. I actually really do like country music. It's so funny because I only really like romantic country music. I just really like it. It's like it makes me think of my favorite ships and stuff. And I had recently been into like quite a few country songs when I first met Stitch, and so she told me that she had this impression of me that I loved country music. Like that was like a tenet of my personality was liking country, when that's not the case. Like truly my Spotify is a huge mix of a billion different things. I definitely don't only like one specific genre, but Stitch was like, I truly thought you were a country girl. That was like a thing about you. I think it's because I told her I liked the songs Springsteen or something. Jessica says, on your end, can you see how many people are normally at the Friday streams? They seem so much busier than this, but there were so many people today. Yeah, let me see. Going behind the scenes, looking at the analytics. Dun, 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 dun. The original Life is a Highway music video was filmed at one of your job sites? That's cool. Okay, so for example, the last live we did, it said there were 200 unique viewers, and currently on this live stream it says there are 292 concurrent viewers. Oh my god, but it has 3,400 views. That's crazy. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope this video, this live stream gets a lot of views as a video on its own. That's awesome. Oh my goodness. That'll be great for my channel. Because my channel's views recently have not been doing so hot. That's a big word for Elmo. 3,000 was for me playing them at work. Also, I don't know if this is true or not, but if it's possible for you guys to click like on the stream, I think that might help it when it becomes a video as well. So I would appreciate that if you can do that. Wei Wei Shenswig says, are you calling me unique? Yes. We had like 500 viewers while you were reading. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Draw smut, bring the viewers up. Harness the power of the bulge. Okay guys, I think I'm gonna have to end it here. This was really fun. I really love reading, and hanging out with you guys is just such a delight, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. So that'll be awesome. I gotta go take care of Stitch after she did so much heavy lifting. Her arms are just so little. Oh, there you are! Let's order food and watch Solo Leveling. Fuck yeah! Our own male Stallion novel. We're gonna be Shen Yuaning it tonight. Thank you for being a member for 44 months. The love of my life. One stitch from hell. Okay, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for being so awesome. I love this community and I love you guys so much. Bye!